hanging out here in Camden today with Troy Liebi. What is behind him is what is called a nostalgia funny car. And if you've watched some NHRA events lately, they've been showcasing this division a lot. I, of course, grew up a drag racing fan. I'm trying to learn. I'm going to be asked a few times this year. Troy was there several times last year, had an altered body on it, and it was running 580 in the quarter at over 230 miles an hour. He just switched it to the nostalgia funny car. That's what he's going to do this year. Troy, how we doing, man?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
Not bad at all. So let's talk about this car. One thing makes it unique, you tell me, is the body.
Yes, sir. This is a 1978 Datsun 280ZX. This body is an original 70s body. It was one of only 7 ever made. And right now it is currently the only one in the eastern United States.
Okay, and you were telling me that some of the people that had similar bodies are people you would know if you're a drag racing fan.
Yes. Gary Densham ran Datsun body. Chuck Etchells, Tim Gross. They're Nitro funny cars back in the day.
Nice. What brought you to drag race? Because you said you actually did mud drags and sand drags as well.
Yes, I grew up with my uncle drag racing. He ran an altered my whole life. We went exhibition racing with him for many, many years with an exhibition group called the Supercharged Warriors. That's kind of where I got into the exhibition thing and blown alcohol stuff. Altereds were always my thing. It's what I'd always loved. And, it's a lot of fun to go out and do giant burnouts and put on a show for people and have little kids there asking you for your autograph and, just excited to see big smoky burnouts and loud cars. And they don't give a they don't give a rat's ass what it ran. All they know is it was loud and it was badass.
And the altereds are kind of their own thing, aren't they? Because it's not a traditional body. What defines an altered?
An altered, there's a lot of arguments on how the definition of an altered is. But an altered is not a full-bodied race car. It's centered steered. You sit directly behind the motor. You don't sit to the left. The rear end is still behind you rather than underneath you like a slingshot dragster. But they're short wheelbase and they're angry to drive. They don't have the downforce a funny car or anything like that has. They're a lot of fun.
And this, of course, is the same car, but with the funny car body. What is the difference between driving this as a funny car and driving it as an altered? As
a funny car, believe it or not, it has a whole lot more downforce with the funny car body compared to the altered. And actually, with this body compared to the other one, I've been in the car a few times now, and we actually have better vision inside this car than I had with the altered, because the altered body comes way up over top of the steering wheel. And if you look in here, when the body's down, you can see everything plain as day. I can actually see the front tires, where with the altered body, I can't.
And you said if you start to get out of shape, it's a little easier to recover with the funny car body than it would be with the altered body.
Yes, absolutely.
Is it the spoiler or just the dirty air in between the front end and along the way?
The air that gets underneath the altereds and around the engine and things like that really upset the cars a lot quicker than they do with a funny car, because you have a lot more, like I said, air pushing down on the car on the funny car that you don't have with an altered.
Okay, so tell me a little about the engine.
This is a Alan Johnson 481X. It's a 4.9 bore space, 10.4 deck height. It's got a Littlefield 1471 high helix retro supercharger with multiple case modifications. It runs a MSD Pro Mag 44 ignition system. I run a Waterman Little Bertha 17-gallon fuel pump. I don't run any form of electronics on this car whatsoever. It's all run old school. It's a clutch pedal car, and you drive it the way they're meant to be driven. It doesn't drive for you.
Makes it tougher to drive, obviously.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I had to grab my mic because I was just zooming in on that stuff right there. How much horsepower are we talking with this?
This motor is capable of around 4,000 horsepower, really put on kill.
And how much fuel were you running in there? 17 gallons,
This is a 17.5-gallon pump.
And how much does it use in a run?
Depending on the tune-up and, the kind of burnout we do, it'll burn 4 to 5 gallons a pass.
Okay, I was curious because obviously I know with alcohol it burns more than gasoline,
yes.
Correctly? About 2.5 times, something
Yep.
in that range?
Yep.
Okay. Is alcohol the preferred power method? Do they also run these with gas in a separate class? Kind of like with funny cars in NHRA?
Alcohol is the preferred for most. They're very tough to run and tune on gasoline, mechanically injected like these are. I would prefer to run a nitro car. That's my goal at some point, is to run the car 90+% nitro. I don't have the funding at this point in time to be able to afford nitromethane. but alcohol is a little bit easier on parts and your wallet.
Well, I would call it the cheap man's power, right? Is
That's
what
right.
I heard years ago from folks in this. So eventually you'd like to do a full nitro car at an actual NHRA event?
Yeah. I would like to run. I built this car with the altered body on it, with the big wings and everything, because my plan is to eventually run it with a legit top fuel combination in it. I would like to do what they just did this past year in Texas with the War Wagon, and they went 300 miles an hour in an altered. And
Wow.
I'd love to be able to say someday that I managed to go 300 miles an hour in an altered of my own.
That would be probably a handful at the bottom of the racetrack, I would think, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, all right. So what is your plan for this year? And obviously we're still in process of rebuilding, or has the motor been out? Where are we as far as this year is concerned?
I just finished the motor up last weekend. It's all fresh back, ready to go. I got a second bullet over here that's still got to be put back together. They're identical motors.
Okay.
This year the plan is to hit at least one or possibly two funny car chaos events out west, and match race as much as we possibly can with the funny car and the altered bodies on it.
How much are we running at ESTA?
We will probably do pretty much all of our testing at ESTA this year. If they happen to do so, to book us in for a show, or maybe who knows.
You don't race actually at ESTA. It's just test hits, pretty much?
Usually testing. We did an event there this past season with the Buffalo Superchargers. There was 8 of us with all blown alcohol cars.
Nice.
We had my altered and my boss Ben Gregory at Rolling Chassis. We had his funny car there, and 6 others. We actually ended up putting his funny car in the final. We had a malfunction with the trans brake, so we lost the final, but it was a good outing.
And there's a lot to getting even this thing started up. I mean, obviously, walk me through it, because there was a game a few years ago, an actual NHRA video game, and I was surprised at how much there was even just to do the burnout, make sure you back up in there. What is the process like? Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, sure. This particular car doesn't have an onboard starter, so you have your crew on the outside of the car with a starter that goes on the front of the blower.
Just like what we see on TV.
Right. You're in the car holding onto the clutch pedal and the handbrake. You turn the fuel on. They start spinning the motor over. You kick the ignition on, and when it lights, they'll feed a little fuel to it to make sure it stays running. You wait till they disconnect everything and get out of the way. And being a
Put the body down safely, obviously.
Yep. Being a clutch car, there's a clutch pedal, and you have to have a handbrake to slow the car down, so you're steering the car with one hand. But this has air buttons on the steering wheel. You roll through the burnout in the water. You put the car in high gear, which this is a 3-speed. You do your burnout. You stop. You have to put it back into low gear, find the reverser, put the car in reverse, back it up.
And you better not be rolling when you hit reverse, or you're done, right?
You got that right.
Okay.
Got that right.
All right. And then do we shift it when we're actually driving?
Yes. This car, this year we're shifting the car right around 7,800 RPM. It will go a lot higher than that, but we're not really running the car super hard at the moment. We were trying to get used to the new setup and get the car to work. We were pretty hot with our clutch tune-up. The car was 60 footing, 9.5, 9.6, sub 1 second. We were having some tire spin issues and shakes a little bit farther out.
Do you have shift lights?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. You have a shift light to tell us when to shift it. Last year I only had 1 set of clutch discs for the car, so we were limited on our tuning. This year I have lots and lots of clutch discs for this year, so we can get after doing the way we need to and slip the clutch and make this car go really fast.
Now, we're running out of time in this one, but what we're going to do it right after this, where we're going to, he's going to walk me through this. Troy's going to do that. We're going to show you everything up close, get a little bit more in actually what it's like to drive. So make sure to look for that one to come up here real soon. Hit that blue E down there, guys. That'll subscribe. We're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff this year. We're going to be at ESTA a lot of times on Sundays, and we're going to learn a lot about a sport that I've fallen in love with from a distance. Hey, good talking to you, man, and look for the second one later. Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too.